Hey guys, welcome to the Corpses and Cocktail podcast. I am here with Erin and Jamie.
Hello. Hello.
And today we are going to be starting with Jamie. I've decided. I've made the decision. Made the decision for you. Gonna throw you in the deep end right there. I think that order's correct. I think because it was Erin, Jamie, me. Oh, then it's Erin, isn't it?
Look, mine's really short, so I should probably just get mine out of the way. It's
Okay. Yeah.
So that's fine with me.
It's fine. You know what? It's fine. We talked about it, and it's fine.
So this, guys, is almost a hometown murder.
Ooh.
No, I'm not doing Port Dunya.
Wow.
I sort of find it. I'm covering. Have you guys heard of Sheree Beasley?
No.
No.
Not even almost.
No. Wow. Well, fucking pull your socks up. I don't know what to say.
Well, fuck my
Get
drag.
ready.
Yeah.
So Robert Arthur Selby Lowe was born in England in 1937. His godfather was a minister of Edinburgh's, I can't even say this, Presbyterian Church, and was a chaplain to Queen Elizabeth II. So he came from a very religious family. He was well respected among his community and by his family too. His deviant behaviour started around when he was around 19 years old.
Same.
And he was charged. He was charged for stealing a car and a couple of us. I just said ass. A couple of us.
Couple asses, me too. You had me on the brain. It's fine. It's fine.
This is gonna be tough. I can feel it.
Yeah.
I can feel it. And a couple of years after that, he was charged with a multiple theft and assault charges. From 59 to 65, he faced 2 charges in New Zealand for willful and obscene exposure, and he was served a 6-month prison sentence. After moving to Australia, he appeared in court more than a dozen times on charges of indecent behaviour, loitering for sexual purposes, and willful and obscene exposure again.
What is loitering for sexual purposes? Is that when would that be like cruising? Is that like when you're hanging around like trying to fuck dudes?
Yeah, but I think with children.
Oh, so
So it was pedophilia.
Right.
Lorraine Sangster was 29 when she left the exclusive Brethren and was left friendless. And she prayed for a friend for Christmas in 1970.
Oh, which is really
Say.
Oh God.
After a church service, she met Robert Lowe and believed her prayers were answered. Lorraine knew little of her husband's activities and nothing of his past, until the brutal murder of Sheree Beasley made them so glaringly clear that she could not ignore them any longer. So, on 29th of June in 1991 in Rosebud, which is on the Mornington Peninsula of Victoria, Sheree Beasley was snatched from her bike just 400 metres away from her house. She was 6 years old. A neighbour reported to Shane and Kerry Ludlow, which were her parents, that they had found Kerry's daughter's bike abandoned. After the abduction, several witnesses said that they had seen a middle-aged man driving a car containing a distressed child. Neighbours and police alike suggested that perhaps Sheree had meandered off to play with one of her friends. All were sure that she'd bound through the door at any moment. So I had this book. For some reason, it just isn't on my shelf at the moment. I don't know where it is. But I read this book and I really recommend it. It's really, really brutal, but I really recommend it.
What's the name of the book?
It's just called The Murder of Sheree Beasley.
Right.
Sorry. The police had interviewed Lowe after the abduction because of obviously his previous offences, and he had denied any involvement whatsoever. He went on for several times to change his story and to hypothesise on what the course of events would have been if he was involved. So the police definitely suspected him, but they had no evidence. Robert was seeing a psychotherapist because he was having marital problems, and he'd been seeing Margaret Hobbs for quite a few years. He eventually opened up about his past sex crimes and his sexual desires. So I remember reading in the book that he would just talk to his therapist about all his sexual fantasies, and most of the time they involved young children. So she was incredibly wary of him and a bit skeptical.
As you would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Margaret Hobbs eventually began to suspect that he was involved in the murder. She eventually called Crime Stoppers, and she spoke to police. So this was a big breakthrough. Pretty much, if she hadn't said anything, I doubt that they would have ever found him. Discovered that he murdered her. She eventually called Crime Stoppers and speaking with the police. Lowe had given suspicious statements saying that he did not remember where he was on the day that Sheree died and that he felt like police were closing in on him. Afterwards, the police ended up tape recording some of his sessions with Hobbs. Initially, she didn't know about this. So they'd done this without her knowledge, and after being informed of the recording, she gave permission for more taping. This was obviously due to the fact that apparently his statements just became more and more intense, and there was just a lot of details that no one really knew about except for him.
Right.
4 weeks after the abduction, Sheree's body was found in Red Hill, shoved into a storm drain. It was determined she had been strangled and raped. It was difficult for the police to piece together the course of evidence, which had led to the discovery of Sheree's body, which was badly decomposed. On tape, Lowe described how he had driven up and asked the girl if she wanted to ride home, and apparently she had come willingly with him. When in fact what had happened was that Robert had forced Sheree into his blue Toyota Corolla and he'd just driven off. So this was verified by a friend who was with Sheree at the time and riding their bikes together, but doesn't really make sense because it's not known like why she didn't come forward first, whether that was because she was young, whatever reason. But that was found on one article that I read, but wasn't mentioned in the other, and I don't remember it being mentioned in the book.
Right.
So I'm not too sure. She appeared upset and incoherent and told him that he was going the wrong way when he tried to find where she lived. Lowe said that Sheree became more upset and when he couldn't get off the freeway and he drove up a little bit further. He says he pulled up on the side of the road and tried to calm her down, but apparently she started to choke. He says he tried to help her but was unable to. Then he said in a state of panic he ruled out taking her to the hospital as they would undoubtedly need to know the circumstances under which she arrived there. Sheree died. He had no time to muck around, so he drove to the back of Arthur's seat, which I don't know if you've ever been there.
I've been there.
I go there.
It's lovely.
I used to work. Yeah, I would go there for friends for drives. I used to work there.
Yeah.
Like this is like close.
But a lot of bodies have been dumped there. A ton of bodies.
It's so secluded there at the same time as being filled with tourists. It's so odd.
There's like so much wildlife that like a body probably would be eaten if it was left there. And because it's right next to the ocean, it's probably gonna like degrade a lot faster than a body.
Yeah, exactly, because of all the salt.
But like ruling out going to a hospital is such bullshit because like you have people like so I've grown up in like sort of like adjacent to drug culture. And whenever someone ODs, they literally just dump the body out of the car and keep driving. They don't stop to take statements. They would just roll the body out of the car and then they take him in on a stretcher. Like it's fucked up, but like let's not give him any, benefit of the doubt because he says, well, they need to know. Well, you just dump the person. It's better than but it's better than letting them die. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So fucked.
So he drove to the back of Arthur's seat and he ended up resting her body in a drain. Her helmet and clothing were removed as he said that he could not fit her body in the drain without doing so. I tried to see if she would fit in there and it looked very tight. I had her clothes off and I said a prayer. I put her in there gently, very gently.
Well,
slid her in, pushed her with my
He said
hand.
a prayer, so it's fine.
Yeah,
he said a prayer. All's forgiven.
Yeah.
And he took her clothes up.
Very gently, I slid her in, pushed her with my hands, pushed her in a bit further, and then covered the whole drain. Although Lowe had said he had left Sheree wearing underwear, she was found without underwear on. He had apparently confessed to cellmates that she had choked, trigger warning, while he performed oral sex, she had to perform oral sex on him, and that's how So he admitted that to cellmates and then
Which is ironic because, like, pedophiles get killed in prison.
yeah.
Like, why would
But
he
it's
say
not-
that?
So
Gross,
in court,
gross.
yeah, Erin, this will be of interest to you. In court, Lorraine Lowe testified that her husband was obsessed with the details of the Carmen Chan murder and had prayed for her both at church and at home. He was similarly obsessed with the Zaria Chamberlain case and had often claimed that police were always going after good church-going people. It was later discovered that Lowe had in fact written to Michael Chamberlain, who in turn wrote to Lowe's psychologist and asked her to advise her client not to write again. He also tried to visit the Chamberlains while on a trip, but found them not home.
She said thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Literally.
Do not contact me. Oh my.
No.
She says thank you for the support. Go away.
Go away. You were a creep.
Yeah.
Yes. Which
Fuck.
is so weird. Like, why
She
would
had
you...
the whole of Australia against her, and she still said no, thank you.
She's like, I don't want your support.
she's like, well, maybe I did do it. You know what?
Yeah, she was like. So Lowe pleaded originally not guilty to kidnapping and murder of Sheree Beasley. He was committed to stand trial on October 27th in 1994, 3 years and 4 months after Sheree was murdered. 6 men and 6 women were impaneled to sit in judgment of him. On November 30th in 1994, the jury brought in a unanimous verdict. An enemy? Lowe was found guilty of kidnapping Sheree and was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. He was then charged guilty for the murder of Sheree and was sentenced to life imprisonment. His files were marked never to be released, and that was the harshest penalty available in Australia. Obviously, we didn't have the death sentence or anything.
Which is good.
So that's pretty much that. I remember reading the book, and he was a massive church man. He would take. He was a cricket coach as well.
He was a cricket.
He was a cricket. He was a cricket coach. So he was a big part of the community, and a lot of people just didn't even realize what a monster he was.
That seems to be the case with most of these killings. Because it's like, oh my god, he was so friendly. He definitely could not gut a child and leave him in a fucking... That's fucked.
Yeah, so like that one was just one that I found really interesting and horrific, but also so close to home.
Yeah, incredibly close because like, yeah, that's Dramana.
Yeah, but yeah, so that was that.
Yeah.
Close to home, really horrific.
Yeah, very horrific.
I don't know why I keep covering child murders.
But I haven't even heard of that before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how? Oh, mate. Oh, I guess because like maybe he's been because luckily he was found and he's been punished to the best of the Australian justice system. That's probably. Like,
But even now, we still hear about Paul Denier.
Yeah.
And like I don't want to say it was less horrific, but like murdering choking a child to death on your dick and then like that's fucked.
Yeah.
That's fully
Well, I think not because child murder is so horrific. Some people, like obviously, we're all fascinated by murderers, but some people, it's like, oh no,
never.
I can't
Let's
even
not talk about
comprehend.
that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
So,
It was quite luckily I had read the book because otherwise reading just the 2 articles that I found that sustained enough information were really just kind of bland. Like Murderpedia gave the most information.
I love Murderpedia. Just as an aside, if you like true crime at all, please donate to Murderpedia because it is so good. Like I got a ton of information for my case from Murderpedia. Anyways, continue. Sorry.
But yeah, like there was nothing about it which I found just really sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's pretty recent as well. Well, recent.
Yeah, in the 90s.
Yeah.
What if one of us was reincarnated? That's what I always think. It's so fucked up, but that's what I always think. Whenever I'm like doing these cases, I'm like, they died in 98. I could be them. How fucked up is that? What kind of?
That could be me.
I also go like backwards. Like, what if you died and then suddenly you woke up in like the 1800s? Like, you know, you get those people like in your stories about like
that's a theory.
They're like, this is the future. Like, this is gonna happen. And like, oh, it's fucking crazy. But it's
like, you're a witch, gonna burn you.
Literally.
There's a theory that we are all the same person, and every single person you meet is you after, like, in a different life. So, and it's a theory where you should, like, always be nice to everyone because they're you in another life. The central soul theory. Yeah. I think that one's very interesting.
I like that.
I do like that one as well.
Messed up, guys. If we are each other.
But we also are the dude who stuffed that girl on the drain. So I don't know how I feel about that.
We don't know that part of us.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we were just working something out. Yeah.
Those are my rebellious years.
Yeah. My rebellious souls. Like, the blood counters. Fucking, yeah. I don't know how I feel about that one.
Yeah.
But I do like those sort of, like, central soul kind of, like, reincarnation theories.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly bring something up? Side note, they found that autistic boy dead.
I
don't
know.
know if you guys saw.
So sad.
Oh, what?
No, in Yarra Junction.
Which one?
Yarra Junction. No, so an autistic boy went for a walk.
Yeah.
Was it yesterday or the day before?
The day before.
And he, like, just went for a walk. He was like, Mom, like, I'll be back in, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Went for a daily walk, and then, yeah, he was lost. And then they found his blood.
But they found him so far away. And the police are saying it's not suspicious, but how did he get that far away?
Apparently, I saw a statement, I think it was from his brother or something, apparently because even though he was high-functioning autism, apparently when he got kind of, like, in the headspace, apparently he would just, like, wander off if he, like, found a track that he liked to go down, but he would never tell anyone.
Right.
So,
I see. But that's so sad.
Yeah, so sad.
They didn't say how he died, though. They didn't say, like...
They think it was just,
exposure. Right. That's so horrible.
Because it was really horrible weather.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there was, like, a thunderstorm. So.
Not that it compares, but my roof did flood. Not that it compares to someone's child dying, but my roof did flood. Like today, literally today.
Really? It rained? Oh, yeah, it did rain.
Yeah, it rained. It rained, like, a lot. It rained a lot. It rained, like, 6 times today. But, yeah, my roof, like, flooded, and my entire back room was, like, the carpet was all wet. And we were like, where the fuck is it coming from?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You need a new roof.
Yeah. I need a new house, honestly.
Clear those gutters, man.
Yeah.
Clear those gutters.
Well, yeah, actually, no, you're totally right. Yeah, they are a bit fucked. Who would like to go next?
I don't mind, Brad. Do you remember, when did you go?
I think the last time I was on, I went first.
Okay.
I'm totally cool. I'm honestly very ready to hear your case.
Okay, all right.
I'm very ready to hear it.
All right, we can do my case. All right, let me just because this was done on my laptop, so I'm just gonna.
Oh, let's get it up.
Shimmy this around. Oh, sorry, I look like I'm. My screen is so big. The screen I got, I thought it would be a little screen. It's not. It's a very big one.
Aren't you?
I know. I just want to show you. I'm gonna move the webcam. Look how pretty.
That's gorgeous.
How pretty. Wah! Yep.
How pretty. Wah!
Wah! It's
That's
I'm just
so
in love.
fucking cool.
That's
That's so cool.
I'll just I'll stare at it. And
She is an official gamer girl. She is ready to go.
I made it on myself.
You can donate to her Patreon. Follow her on Twitter. OnlyFans link will pop up on the screen right now.
But yes, I am very proud of myself. I thought I could never do it, but yes. Anyway,
you did it.
Stop gloating.
Bloating.
I'm gloating.
Yeah, I think she said gloating.
Gloating, is that what it is?
Not bloating, Brad.
Roll the tapes.
What is it?
Roll the tapes. I heard bloating. I was like, bloating, bitch.
I'm also bloating. I'm always bloated.
Yeah,
I do the button on my pants.
Look,
okay.
I just never do the button up, honestly. It stays
That works.
down.
Smart. I miss that. I miss going to restaurants and eating so much food that you have to undo your pants.
Yes.
You think you have to go to restaurants to do that? Oh, boy, have I got a lesson for you.
No, but I wear jeans when I go out. I don't wear jeans. I don't wear anything at home, so.
That's true. Right now, she's fully naked. That's the color of her skin. Grey.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Grey.
Fully grey. Also, I just realized you guys are coordinated. I'm the odd one out.
Is anyone blue?
It's grey and grey. I suppose my shallow, pallid, pale skin kind of grey.
Just add a bit of blue in there and you're fine.
Yeah.
All right, Erin.
Okay. I'll take the wheel. So I just want to say how I found this case. So this case is actually how I got into murder.
Ooh.
So Jamie knows this story, but basically when I was 11, I was homesick. And normally my mum was home because she was a stay-at-home mum, but she wasn't at the time. And this was when Dad paid some money for Foxtel.
Ooh.
So, I felt like a very rich kid at the time. And they had the Crime Channel. Except the Crime Channel had a password protection, the parental password.
It was 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, it was something very, very similar and easy. And I knew it. So I got into it, and there was this documentary just starting, and it was, I'm pretty sure it would have been a rated R documentary. And I was 11. That was, I'd never watched anything rated R.
Yeah.
But it was so incredibly graphic and so
how
horrific.
Aaron was made.
Oh my god. Well,
this is how it started.
It's funny that's your experience because that was my first experience as well. Because
oh my god, really?
I was much younger though. I was maybe 6 years old, and I opened Foxtel because my dad we had 2 lounges and both of them had Foxtel. So my dad used to use the upstairs one, and so we used to turn it on and it'd be like, enter the channel for the porn channel, or blah 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 blah. And we'd be like, don't know what that is. But we went onto the true crime channel, and we didn't know what true crime was. And so we just started doing numbers, and it was like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 000, quadruple zero, like all of the different numbers. And clearly my parents did not care about parental locking because we instantly got into it. It was so bad. I think we watched a person get decapitated, which was the first thing. I was like, oh, it was fucked.
See, I had an excuse. I was just born a sicko. Apparently when I was 3, I used to beg to watch horror movies.
See, that's very you though. I could see that for you.
Yeah. I'm dreading when I have a daughter.
I'm still a pussy. I'm still a pussy.
James won't watch anything remotely scary unless it's in the daytime. He's like, no, I'll have bad dreams. And I'm like, oh,
you're like, oh, James, my life is a bad dream.
Yeah, pretty much. Welcome to hell.
Oh, so sad. Yeah. Anyways,
well,
sorry, Aaron.
I'm about to tell you guys a bad dream. So this is the murder of Sylvia Likens. So I just want to put in a bit of trigger warning here. Contains child abuse, sexual abuse, some really horrific torture, and it goes in, and I am going to go into great detail. If you're a sicko like us, keep listening.
Okay, that makes it sound like we like it. let's not go that far.
In it.
Let's not go that far. It's not like a weird kink.
That's true. Yeah. All right. So Sylvia was born on January 3rd, 1949. She was the third of 5 children, and fun fact, she was born in between fraternal twins. So she had 2 older brothers and 1 younger sister and a younger brother.
I am such an idiot. I'm such an idiot. Just to pause. I was like, doesn't that make them triplets? Because I thought she was born between 2 twins. I was like, how does that work? How do you put a baby on pause? I was like, wait a minute.
You're like, this isn't adding up.
Yeah. 1 + 1 does not equal 3. Hang on a minute. Fuck.
So there were 5. Yeah, okay. There were 5 children.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
Yeah, 2 were twins and the other 2 were twins.
Yeah.
And the other 2. Yeah, and she was born by herself.
Just in case if anyone had the same thought as Brad.
It's
2 twins.
Sylvia it's truly a surprise I have not choked on my own spit and die. It is just I don't know how I live. How do I live day to day being this dumb? Anyway, sorry.
Yep. So her younger sister, Jenny, she suffered from polio and she had to wear a brace on her leg. And Sylvia was incredibly protective of her. She also loved roller skating and the Beatles. And she had long, wavy brown hair, and her family called her Cookie. It's super cute.
Oh,
so, I know, I'm sorry.
I'm already upset.
So Sylvia's family was quite poor. They worked in a concession stand in a circus, and they often would have the boys working for them, but relatives would... Are you okay, Jamie? Yeah, I'm sorry. What?
As soon as you said circus, I saw her lose it. I was like, what does that mean?
I'm sorry, I'm okay. All right.
Let it out, honey.
It's
Let
alright.
out the giggles before you start giggling in the
Yeah.
torture part, okay?
Because it's not good. It's not good.
I don't know. I just like took a sip and then I just like punched the desk. No, I don't know. And then the giggles started. I'm a mess. Sorry, pretty good. We're fine.
So obviously the girls can't work, so they had the relatives and friends look after the girls. She often made money from babysitting and doing odd jobs around the neighborhood that she was living in. It was said she was a very happy and smiley child, but she didn't like to show her teeth because she was missing one of her front teeth due to fighting with her brother. So in 1965, Sylvia was sweet 16. She met Paula and Stephanie Banaszewski while at school that year, and she became very good friends with them. Sylvia's mother got arrested on June 6th, and her father could not look after her. So he then sent Sylvia and Jenny to live with Paula and Stephanie for $20 a week. So Gertrude, the mother, agreed to look after them as if they were her own. So I'm going to now chat about Gertrude. So Gertrude, good old Gertie, was born in 1929 on September 19th. She married John Stephen Banaszewski at 16 years old.
What does that make
so
her?
proud.
What star
so
sign?
proud.
What star sign is that? What's her birthday?
September 19th.
September 19th.
So she was born 4 days ago.
Is that
Star sign. Oh, Virgo. No wonder.
Oh.
Sorry, continue.
So
She's a psychopath, Brad. Means nothing.
Yeah. Not to you, but to her probably.
So she was married at 16 years old, and the couple had 4 children together.
Mhm.
And John became very physically violent towards Gertie, and she divorced him within 10 years. So weeks later, she then married Edward Guthrie. He too turned out to be abusive, and they divorced within months.
Does that mean her name is Gertie Guthrie for a bit? Because I really like
Gertie
that.
Guthrie.
I really like that a lot.
I was waiting for it to click with Brad. He's like, wait,
Wait
what
a
did I
minute.
just hear?
Yeah, hang on a minute.
Maybe it wasn't actually the abuse. It's like she just hated being called.
She was
Gertie
just
Guthrie.
embarrassed.
Very embarrassed. So she then remarried her first husband, had 2 more children, and then divorced again for the second time. So then Gertrude met 22-year-old Dennis Lee White, and the unwed couple had 1 son together, Dennis Jr., in 1965. Dennis then abandoned Gertrude and the baby, and she filed a paternity suit against him, though she never saw a penny. So in 1965, Banaszewski lived alone with her 7 children. Paula, 17, Stephanie, 15, John, who was 12, Marie, 11, Shirley, 10, James, 8, and Dennis Lee White Jr., who was 1. So
Christ.
single mother, 1960s, didn't get a lot of support from the government, and she was looking after 7 children by herself.
Get a new hobby, bitch. Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Jesus
And
Christ.
although she was 36 years old, she was 5'6" in height. She weighed only 100 pounds, so that's 45 kilos.
Same.
So she was tiny.
Me too.
Hopefully, Brad, will you add a picture in here? She
Yeah.
looked horrible. She was described as a haggard, underweight, asthmatic chain smoker suffering from depression due to the stress of 3 failed marriages and looking after 7 children.
I know, 12 kids, yeah. I'd be pretty
Yeah.
sad too.
The 12 children.
I'd be, you know what? I'd probably kick a kid to death too.
Yep, which is very fair. And obviously another big stress was the financial stress, because none of her previous husbands paid any child support, or at least when they did, it did not come often enough. So Gertrude was 36 in 1965, and she'd suffered from 6 miscarriages, which, can have a huge impact on mental health as well.
Yeah.
She looked nothing like her 35 years. So where she was living, her 5 children had to share 1 bed. She was in no position to care for her own children, especially not another 2, which was Sylvia and Jenny, which came to live with them. Oh, what am I doing here? Sorry.
I ask myself
what am I
that every
thinking?
week.
What am I doing?
Feels.
So, you know, at the start, she agreed to let them come and stay because they were getting paid $20 a week, which was a lot of money back then. However, though that $20 a week check started to become a little bit less and then failed to show up altogether. And this made Gertrude absolutely furious. So here is when the torture started to begin. So Gertrude made the girls lie on their tummies on the bed, and Banaszewski, Gertrude, would beat their butt. The Banaszewski children went to Gertrude and said they were disgusted with the amount of food that Sylvia had to eat. Likens made Sylvia a hot dog that was overloaded with condiments, including mustard, ketchup, and spices. Sylvia then vomited as a result, and she was forced to consume what she had regurgitated. You know, the abuse, which you would think this is pretty horrific abuse to start with, but it just escalated from there. The boys would use her as a toy by beating her like a practice dummy to practice their judo moves. Gertrude heard Sylvia once say that she allowed a boy to feel her up, and this sent Gertrude into an absolute fit of rage where she called Sylvia a whore and a slut and kicked her in the groin. Gertrude would later occasionally force Jenny to strike her own sister, beating Jenny if she did not comply. Gertrude would burn cigarettes out on her. She also encouraged the children to put their smokes out on her as well. Sylvia, yes.
The children were smoking?
Of course, of course.
It's the 60s, Brad.
What is the 60s?
Hello, 2-year-old son. Can you put your cigar out on your older sister, please? What the fuck?
I mean, I don't think it's a 2-year-old son. It would be the maybe 10, 12, 15, and 16-year-old.
There was also, yeah, that's still...
Yeah, still way too young to be smoking.
Yeah.
But this was back then when it was encouraged and cigarettes were like, what
Back
was
then
it?
it was like healthy for you. That's what they would say, that it was healthy.
I would give it to pregnant women for, wasn't it like morning sickness?
Look, if the baby comes out with more arms, that's more arms that can do work.
Right, I'll remember that when I go to Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, Jamie's been smoking a pack a day. What's going on?
Sylvia was often denied food and water, and she was incredibly malnourished. So around this time, Sylvia unfortunately became incontinent. This is when Gertrude then forced her to live in the basement. Gertrude started these cleansing rituals by filling up a tub with scalding hot water and dunking Sylvia with bound arms and legs. Paula then would rub salt on Sylvia's body, which was covered in cuts and burns. And so, oh my God, the poor thing. You can just imagine how horrific that would have felt. The children would then charge money to the neighborhood kids to gawk at her and push her down the stairs. Yet one neighborhood boy, Ricky Hobbs, who was 14, who came from a middle-class family, became the henchman of Gertrude and carried out a lot of her demands and requests in regards to torturing Sylvia. So this is what I remember from the documentary. Oh, absolutely. She was branded with a hot needle. So they heated up a needle, and on her stomach they wrote, "I am a prostitute and proud of it." It is said that the burning branding was so deep that even modern surgeries could not have erased it. So, yeah, really.
And how'd she afford it? She was a prostitute.
I can't, because I've heard this case before, I have nothing to say.
It's so fucked. It's one of the worst torture cases I've ever heard of.
Yeah, it was really, really horrific. So days before her death, the torture and abuse increased a lot. I don't really want to say what happened, but she was beaten with a lot of objects, and she became unconscious many times. One of the things that were done to her. Another trigger warning here. She was raped with a Coke bottle, which is, just very much not nice. So around this time, days before her death, she was forced to write a letter that stated that she had run away with a gang of boys because she was pregnant. Sylvia from here was suffering from severe dehydration and malnutrition. Body was covered in burns, bruises, old injuries, fresh injuries, and she could barely even move or lift her fingers. On October 26th, Stephanie and Ricky attempted to give Sylvia a bath, and when they took her out, it was found that she was not breathing. Stephanie attempted CPR, however, it was futile. Gertrude then instructed the children to go downstairs and get Ricky to call the police. So when the police arrived, Gertrude gave the letters that Sylvia wrote to the police. However, Jenny whispered to the officer, "Get me out of here and I will tell you everything." Due to the horrific scene, Gertrude was arrested immediately, as well as Paula, Stephanie, Coy, Ricky, and John. So Sylvia's official cause of death was brain swelling, internal hemorrhaging, and shock of the brain. Internal hemorrhaging of the brain and shock. So the autopsy of Likens' body revealed she had suffered in excess of 150 separate wounds. So all the children and Gertrude, they were all tried together, but they all had different lawyers. Gertrude blamed the children, saying that Gertrude was too ill and too sick to commit such abuse, whereas the children's lawyers blamed Gertrude and the other children. So the trial of 5 defendants lasted 17 days before the jury retired to consider its verdict. On May 19th, 1966, after deliberating for 8 hours, the panel of 8 men and 4 women found Gertrude Banaszewski guilty of first-degree murder, recommending a sentence of life imprisonment. Paula Banaszewski was found guilty of second-degree murder, and Hobbs, Hubbard, and John were found guilty of manslaughter. Upon hearing the pronounced verdicts, Gertrude and the children burst into tears and attempted to console each other, as Hobbs and Hubbard remained impassive. So there was a retrial, and all of the sentences were reduced. So over the course of the 14 years, Gertrude became a very well-known model citizen in the Indiana women's prison. She worked in the prison sewing shop and was known as a den mother to the younger female inmates, becoming known within the prison by the nickname Mum. By the time Gertrude's ultimate parole in 1985, she had changed her name to Nadine Van Fossen and described herself as a devout Christian.
Of course she was.
So, yep. So within her parole hearing, Banaszewski stated her wish that Likens' death could be undone. Although she minimized her responsibility for any of her actions, stating, "I'm not sure what role I had in Likens' death because I was on drugs. I never really knew her. I take full responsibility for whatever happened to Sylvia." So, taking Gertrude's good conduct into account, the parole board marginally voted in favour of granting her parole. She was released from prison on September 4th, 1985. But thank God, only 5 years later, she died of lung cancer on June 6, 1990, at the age of 61.
God works in mysterious ways.
Very mysterious ways. So Paula, one of the girls, the 16-year-old that, committed a lot of the torture, she got paroled in 1972. So that's 7 years after Sylvia's murder.
7?
Yep, 7 years. So she assumed a new identity. She worked as an aide to a school counsellor for 14 years. Having changed her name and having concealed the truth to her criminal history to the school district when applying for the position. She was fired in 2002 when the school discovered her true identity, and she reportedly lives in a small town and is married with 2 children. Stephanie was not tried due to her using evidence against the 2 other defendants. And Coy and John each served less than 2 years in the Indiana Reformatory before being paroled in February 27, 1968. So that was the 12 and 10-year-old. So Jenny Likens, which was Sylvia's sister, later married an Indianapolis native named Leonard Reese Wade. The couple had 2 children. She died of a heart attack on June 23, 2004, at the age of 54. At the time of her death, Jenny resided in Beech Grove, Indiana. Until the end of her life, Jenny remained haunted by the memories of what she had been forced to witness her sister physically and mentally endure, ultimately resulting in her becoming a frail, nervous recluse. Her fatal heart attack is believed to have been a trigger of the doorbell being rung by a pizza delivery man calling at the wrong address. And that is the horrific case and death of Sylvia Likens. Yeah, there's not really much.
Nothing.
No, I'm sorry, I've left it nothing on a high note. We can only be thankful that Gertrude died. A horrible death, because I'm sure lung cancer isn't really the nicest way.
You end up
go.
drowning. You drown in your own lungs. Yeah.
Yeah, and that she, unfortunately, she was released way too early. It would have been nice for her to die within prison, but so be it.
So what with the older siblings of Gertie's, of the older children, they get done for longer? Why? Wow.
No, so Stephanie,
fucked.
she was the 15-year-old. She didn't have to serve any because she was, gave evidence. So I guess they gave her a plea deal. And Paula, who did a lot of the, torturing, she only had to do 7 years. So it's messed up. They're just back then. I mean, even now.
Joel, back then.
I mean, I like to say back then, but now.
It's perfect. It's fine now. Definitely not.
It's
Definitely
fine. I mean, it's
No need
so
for a
much
reform.
better.
Yeah,
I know. But yeah, it's I just remember watching that on the documentary and just fascinating. It's just the torture that she went to.
And we didn't do that's not even the worst of it, because there was
I think when I wrote it, I didn't want to go because there was a lot more.
So much. There's so much.
Yes, if anyone wants to look up, see what she went through, feel free.
Jesus.
Is there I know sometimes there's photos of the body in that.
I don't
know why I want to say that.
Yeah, there is crime scene photos, I believe, but it was very old,
Oh.
so I doubt there's very many.
She looks like Molly Rose after she was exercised.
Oh yeah, very similar because she was so malnutritious. I can imagine that's what she looked like.
I was thinking
there's a photo.
Yeah,
there's a photo of the branding too. The I'm a prostitute.
Oh.
I say we all get tattoos in solidarity.
I'm a prostitute, proud of it.
Yeah. Oh. There's quite a few photos, actually.
It's terrible. And the fact that she did that with a needle and then became a seamstress, that's a bit much for me. Yeah,
the irony.
Yeah. It's not getting much better, by the way, because the fag in the bag case is it's not a happy tale.
Oh, gosh. Give it to us, Brad.
I've heard that before.
Or it.
So, I decided to do Patrick Kearney, who was known as the trash bag killer. So, large disclaimer before I start my case. I fucked it up. Big oops. I used one source, which you shouldn't do. Didn't do much more research than that. And it turns out this girl mixed 2 cases. Turns out the trash bag killer and the fag in the bag case, 2 different cases. And once I realized, I was like, oh, well, shit. And so this is that. Very sorry about that. Yeah, fag in the bag case. Different case. I'll do the real one next week. But, my bad. Super oops. Sorry about it. So the fag in the bag case was a series of murders committed by Patrick Wayne Kearney against predominantly gay men. He was known as the Freeway Killer, one of them. There's so many Freeway Killers.
I was just about to say, wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh my! Is there just a main one Freeway Killer?
There's so many. There's he's part of the three that were like in the 70s, the freeway killers. But he
He's
operated.
70s, man.
Yeah, the fucking 70s. But yeah, he had over 30 victims, so I won't be getting to all of them. I focused on mainly the ones where his MO changed because I kind of find that interesting, like the psychology of it. But yeah, I'm sorry if I miss anyone. But to begin, in his early life, Patrick was the eldest of 3 sons. He was born in East LA on September 24th, 1939. Also a Virgo, would just like to point out. Just saying, to Virgos. And unlike like a lot of serial killers, he had like a super stable home. So he didn't actually have like one of those huge traumatic events, like, like Ed Gein and like all the, serial killers that you think of. You're like, oh, they had like such a sad growing up. Like, why were they like that? But the only thing that could like possibly people call it like a trigger for his actions was he was like super thin and very sickly as a kid, which led like a bunch of kids to like bully the shit out of him. And this started from like early school. And when he was around 8, his father was a cop, and his father taught him how to slaughter pigs. So he took him out to the woods, and he taught him to hold the gun to the back of the pig's head and shoot him. And so it was after this that Patrick began killing animals recreationally. When he would kill them, he used to play in their blood and their intestines.
Oh!
Yes.
Oh my god!
Like a snowman. He used to like do snow angels. Yes, very fucked up. 8 years old. 8 years old. So, I mean, fuck, yeah.
If you guys know anyone who's killing animals, please report it to
Crime
someone.
Crime Stoppers
Yeah.
straight away. Fucked up. So he was doing this into his early teens. And it was then he became super withdrawn and obsessed with the idea of killing people in his teen years. However, Patrick said that he was 25 when he first killed someone. But when he was a teenager...
Bullshit.
Yeah, I call bullshit as well. Absolutely call bullshit. When he was a teenager, Patrick's family used to move around like a lot. Whereas like the bullying never stopped, no matter what school they went to, because he was still like a really frail sort of little kid. But despite this, he had like really, really good grades, and like he had a massive IQ. And even though he was like super, super intelligent, he dropped out of community college. And it was after this that he joined the Air Force. And so he joined the Air Force and was stationed in Texas, which is where he met his lifelong partner, David Hill. They hit it off instantly, and despite David having kids and a wife, they began an on-again, off-again for 15 years. So once they both got discharged out of the Air Force, they were able to live together, because being openly gay in the Air Force was like not a thing that could happen back then, because this was in the 70s. So they started living together, and it was around this time that their relationship, not that it started to sour, but they started to have like quite a lot of conflict. And when they would have conflict, big fights, David, he basically suggested that Patrick should go on a drive. And it was on these drives where Patrick started picking up his victims. So on one of these drives, Patrick was around 22 or 23 when he picked up a 19-year-old hitchhiker. He used to be on a motorcycle, so he used to go for these drives on a motorcycle. And while on the motorcycle, he drove this kid to a secluded area, and Patrick killed his first victim, shooting him in the back of the head, the same way he was taught to kill pigs by his father when he was 8. Yes. Patrick's MO was that he would sodomize them post-mortem, and then he'd mutilate them, and he'd leave them on the side of the road. So Patrick learned of a witness who saw him pick up his first victim, who was hitchhiking, which was the first victim's cousin, who was just 16 years old. So he decided that the 16-year-old boy had to go. He became Patrick's next target. So Patrick killed him the exact same way, dumped him in the exact same spot. And it wasn't until a long time later that they were discovered. Patrick took a third victim that year, named Mike, who was 18 years old. Patrick's MO stayed the same: murder, sodomy, mutilation, disposing on the highway. And it was sort of noted that when he and his boyfriend David's fights would get worse, the murders would like go up incrementally. So there'd be more murders when they had a bad year. Also, bad year, that's not good. Anyways.
Yeah, I was just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
They're rating this?
They used to fight for like years at a time. It was bad. But David, he had a wife and kids that he would return to occasionally. So he was like, sort of like in and out of his kid's life, which was like pretty cruel on them. Just, yeah.
Wait, you mean parent abandonment causes issues?
Yeah, strange. But yeah, David Hill, Patrick's boyfriend, used to just go back to his wife all the time, and like back and forth. So it was just a cycle of abuse. During one of these breaks, Patrick started working as an aeronautical engineer at the Hughes Air Force Base, and he started making $20,000 a year. In the 70s was a ton of money.
I was just thinking, that's a lot of money.
Ton of money. And Patrick bought a house in Redondo Beach in California. But even though David and Patrick had moved in together, their relationship was still super rocky. Patrick was still going for his drives, and sometimes he would drive all the way to Mexico, which is where he did a ton of the murders. Like, a ton of them weren't even discovered because he used to do them in Mexico.
Oh my God.
Patrick's next victim was in 1967 in Tijuana, Mexico. George, who lived in Mexico, was asleep when Patrick broke in and shot him before dismembering him in his own bathtub. He then buried him in his own backyard. Yes. His fourth victim was a 13-year-old boy. So he started getting younger and younger. And this was in 1971. He picked him up while the 13-year-old boy was hitchhiking. His name was John Dimchick. Also, 13-year-old boys should not be hitchhiking. I mean, I don't think anybody should hitchhike, but like especially not small children.
The 70s.
Yeah, the 70s.
I'm just going to keep saying it over and over again.
But yeah, he was killed in the same way, shot in the back of the head, sodomized and dismembered. Kind of like a lot of his victims went that way. But the next victim, his fifth, was in 1974, and his MO changed like a bunch. He picked up a young boy named Donald Dean Jr. Smith, 4 names, and he was 5 years old, just 5 years old. He was Patrick's youngest victim. Patrick kidnapped him and held him for days while raping him every day at his home. He didn't shoot this boy in the back of the head. He instead decided to suffocate him to death. And then he left him by the side of the road. Yes. It was, terrible. So 2 victims after that. His name was, he was 21. He was back to his old age range. His name was Albert Rivera. He picked him up on April 15th, 1975. His MO changed with this victim. Patrick took him for a drive, as he did all the others, and then shot him in the back of the head. However, this time, Patrick took the deceased body and drove him back to his house once he was dead. So he killed them in the forest and brought them back to his house. Once inside the home, Patrick sodomized the body and then drained it of its blood. He dismembered the body and put it into small trash bags and spread it throughout California. So his MO changed in November of 1975. He killed 2 people, Larry Walter and Billy Benefit, at the same time. He killed them the same way, shot them in the back of the head, dismembered them, and then dumped them along the highway in trash bags. They never found Billy's body. They never found even a part of Billy's body. So they don't know. In 1976, in March, his MO changed again. Kenneth Buchanan was shot in the back of the head and sodomized. but he was not dismembered. He was just left on the side of the road. People thought that maybe he just ran out of time, maybe he got spooked. They weren't sure, but he was not disposed of, and he was found like super soon after, like hours after he was found. After this, Patrick became super obsessed with serial killers. Can't relate. Namely the Candyman. And so during the height of this obsession, he picked up a 19-year-old named Tony Stewart, who actually managed to escape. Because he changed his MO, he was trying to be more like the Candyman. So he was doing like a more of a physical kill. And this kid was actually able to escape. It was one of the only victims who was ever able to escape the trash bag killer. And then eventually Tony Stewart managed to write down his entire experience. And he wrote a book about how he escaped from the serial killer. I read the blurb, and it seems very interesting. It's called like In the Shadows or something, but it's Tony Stewart. So if you want to read about escaping a serial killer, I couldn't imagine something more anxiety inducing. But yeah, so after this escape, Patrick seemed to get really lazy, and I think it's because not that he knew that the jig was up, but it was like a lot of people speculate that it looked like he was trying to get caught. So it was just about the killing at this point. So it was always like a psychosexual thing before, where he used to sodomize the body. But he took a young man, shot him in the back of the head, and just dumped him on the side of the road. No sodomy, no dismemberment. The body was in plain sight on the side of the road and was discovered just a few hours after the murder. A few hours. Like, the body was still warm.
Jesus.
Yeah. His last victim that we know about, his name was Johnny LeMay. Unlike a lot of the other boys that Patrick had targeted, John had a super wide circle of friends and was incredibly visible as a target. But Johnny actually told his mother and his neighbor that he was going to a house of a man named Dave. He told his neighbor that this man lived in Redondo Bay and that he met him at the gym, which gave investigators a lead as to where the serial killer was. He was going to Dave's house. What was Patrick's boyfriend's name? David. Yes. So John got to David's house and David was not home. But Patrick was. He invited him in and they sat together on the couch and watched TV before Patrick discreetly got out a gun and shot him in the head. He had time before David got home to drain the body of blood and dismembering him into trash bags and spreading throughout California. My question is, so David knew that his friend was coming over, right? How would he be out of home long enough for Patrick to do this? To bleed the bloody body dry, which takes hours, to dismember it and then spread it? That's hours.
And the cleanup.
Yes, exactly right. Because he got shot in the house. So there's blood, there's smell, like there's... It led a lot of people to speculate that maybe David was not as innocent as he seemed to make him out to be. A lot of people believe that David Hill was complicit, and that is purely speculation based on, the fact that how did he get that all done when he was expecting guests? But
That's insane.
Yes. Because John had let people know where he was going, the Redondo Bay tip let investigators led them essentially directly right to David Hill, because he said it's a Dave who goes to the same gym in Redondo Beach. So they went straight there, and they got tipped off that the police were coming. Someone told them, and they didn't flee. They complied with police. They gave DNA. They gave alibis, and when the police left, they skedaddled. They were like, okay, bye. So they went all the way to El Paso, Texas from California. This is when the police were like, oh, why would they flee if they're innocent? And so they put out a warrant for the two men's arrest. David Hill and Patrick Kearney's family essentially convinced them to come home and turn themselves in. When they did, David denied having any knowledge of the murders, but Patrick admitted to all 32 separate murders. Police
Jesus.
charged him with 21, and he was subsequently charged by the court with 21 life sentences, pleading guilty to avoid the death penalty. Police believe that he probably had even more victims, and David Hill resumed his life as normal. Patrick Kearney remains in prison to this day.
Jesus.
Yes. Very terrifying. Incredibly terrifying. It's quite like John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that gives me the creeps.
Yeah.
I hate clowns.
Hate clowns.
Let alone when they're fucking real and murdering people.
Yeah.
I remember when my mum, she might have gone away for work. She did live in Darwin for a period of time, but I can't remember when it was, but she just wasn't at home. And what I would do when I was single, I would always message mum like, hey, I'm going on a date with this guy. This is his name. This is where I'm going. If I'm going to his house, this is his address.
Yeah.
Like when I was over in Europe, I would send her a live location of my location all the time. And mum went away. And so I went out on a date and I messaged my brother and I was like, hey, like, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going. He's like, oh, if you're messaging me that you're telling me that you're going on a date with them, that's a really bad sign. And I was like, but that's not what I'm doing.
Clearly you don't know what it's like to be a woman.
Or or a gay person.
Yeah.
Like I was
I still do that. Like I literally the person I have to do that with is my ex. So like occasionally I'll be like, hey Harry, I'm going on a date. This is the person's face, their profile, their address, their number.
You can always do that with Erin and I now, okay?
It's true. Allies.
Yep. And we know how to, get rid of a body.
Exactly right. But yeah, so many people, like, there was a bunch of murders of gay people who people were like, how did they get killed? Like, how did nobody notice? It's like, because people just said, oh, they were gay, they ran away from home. Like, it's like how they used to treat children in the 70s is how people treat gay people now. It's like, oh, they just ran away because they were gay. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, it's fucked. Yeah, a very sad case.
Wow.
Well, what's your happy time of the week, guys? We've had quite a down time.
We did. Happy thing. Well, I'll go first. I volunteer. My happy thing is I built a computer.
We saw.
That is impressive.
About maybe 6 months ago, I always wanted to build one, but I'm like, nah, there's no way. I can't do it. Like, it's way too
scary.
technical.
It is scary.
Very scary, but I did it. I picked all the parts. I picked everything myself. And I built it all myself with a tiny bit of help from a friend.
A female friend, girl power.
I'm still so impressed by that. I think about it. I'm like,
cool.
no, I can't do that. I could not do that.
I couldn't do it.
You could.
I know I could now, but like when I was 13, I had my brother help me build it because I was like, thermal paste? How does that work? Yeah.
I get angry, like...
Same, me too. I do too.
Over little things, let alone trying to build something.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah.
Brad, what's your happy thing?
It's been raining a lot lately, which is like so dumb, but like I've been really enjoying the rain, even though it's flooding my house. I've always been super into rain. It's like the only ASMR thing I can get into.
I find it very comforting, so
it is.
I get that.
I have a ute, but I can't drive because I don't have a license yet, but I will go and sit in my ute and listen to the rain on the canopy. It is so nice. It is so nice. It's so nice.
Oh, my heart.
What about you, Jamie?
I received my Exogen machine, so that promotes cell growth for my leg. So I just like strap it onto my leg and then I do 20-minute session 3 times. And hopefully that will get something going on in my leg.
So how does it work? Like, is it like electricity or?
So it's ultrasound.
Oh, right.
Ultrasound pulse wave, yeah. Yeah, it's so weird. Like, I'll send you a video if you want. But like, because I have to do it the same time, give or take an hour every day. And like, it's crazy. Like, you got to put like a bit of gel on, and then like you strap it to your leg, and then I've got like I have a permanent marker, and they've marked out like the 3 spots in my leg where I have to put it on. So like, it's weird.
Get a tattoo. Just like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually said that to James. I was like, I might get like, even just when this is over, like just a little.
Yeah. Why don't you
little
stick and
reminder.
poke? You could stick and poke it right now.
It's literally on the scar, so I'm a bit scared.
Oh right, yeah. No, that
Yeah,
makes
so I'm a bit
sense.
scared. I'm
That
like,
makes
this might
sense.
be a bit sensitive.
Yeah.
But that's my happy thing.
It's where you do heroin beforehand.
It's smart.
That's very cool.
Smart.
That is very cool. I'm really happy for you.
Yeah,
Yay,
yeah.
Very,
so
very cool.
exciting.
Yes. Hopefully I'll be back to kicking shins in no time.
As opposed to, having no shins.
Yep.
It's gonna be very fun.
Ooh. Good times.
Can you at the moment get on a horse?
No.
Right.
A couple of weeks months ago, I brought a saddle for my horse. And normally, when you get on a horse, you're usually supposed to always get on from the left side.
Yeah.
And I like had to do the complete opposite, even just trying the saddle, like even just sitting in the saddle. Like it was not even on a horse; it was just kind of on like this saddle stand.
Oh.
I was like, and then like the lady at Horseland was like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I like picked up my leg and like threw it over, and she's like, "I was like, it's okay, it's fine. I'm not gonna sue you. It's okay."
I may cry on your shop floor, but
Yeah,
look,
it's okay.
yeah, that is nuts. I am very happy that you are getting somewhere with that.
Me too, because I'm fucking 6 months now. 6
up.
months. I've
Pent
been in
up.
the fucking house.
You are more pent up than like a teenage boy.
Yeah.
You are.
You know what? Rude. I feel really mean saying this, but I see everyone complaining about like the coronavirus lockdowns, and I get it. I get it. It's really hard, but like
You can't even walk.
I can't even walk. At least people can
Yeah.
go outside and go for a walk around the block.
A lot of people are alone though. Like you have James.
Yeah, this is true.
Which is so
This is
lucky.
true. That is a really good point.
I mean, it's meant to be positivity time. I totally agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. But people will take this as whining and moaning, and I'm like,
Yeah, and
that's not what this
and I
is.
shouldn't.
This
Yeah.
everyone just have
Isn't it?
perspective. Have perspective. And you know what? We live in a country where we do not need ice cream trucks filled with dead bodies. So, perspective.
This is true.
Was that a Dexter reference?
No, in
I think it was
Madrid.
coronavirus.
In Madrid, they have mobile morgues right now. They're ice trucks, yeah, because the morgues are so filled.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they hollowed out an ice rink to put dead bodies in.
My cousin in Italy was saying that there's a town just near the town that they live in that the church was just full of bodies,
Yeah,
caskets, because they couldn't hold any funerals.
yeah. Wow, we ruined happy time.
Well, there goes happy time.
We will see you next week, unless we don't.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you next week.
Should we say happy?
Boom. Wait, what thing? Oh.
Oh, I haven't stopped
Oh.
recording, so go ahead.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2,
1, 2,
2,
3.
3. You can't
can't
spell
spell
manslaughter without.
Very good. Nailed it. First try.
You know what? I hope we never get it. I really hope we never get it.
You don't have to hope, because we never will. Bye.
Bye.